One of the bloodiest conflicts in American history, with one of the bloodiest battles on American soil. Robert E. Lee would attempt to end the Civil War in the Confederates' favour, and this would all come to a head at Gettysburg. Now, when General Lee found out that there was a new general in command, which was General George Lee, he knew that he was from Pennsylvania and he would be a cautious man. He would take time, so the Confederates had to attack quickly. Now, on July 1st, there was a skirmish outside Gettysburg from dismounted CSA cavalry against some entrenched Union troops. Now, when Lee heard about this, the numbers got misinterpreted and he thought that there were more Union troops than there had to be. So he sent the bulk of his reserve to go take out the garrison at Gettysburg. And what started off as a small skirmish was now going to be the bloodiest battle on American soil. The Confederates held out, and so did the Unions, but the Confederates were stronger, pushing the Union out of Gettysburg and onto the hills in the south. Now, General Lee would do his first mistake by giving an order. He said, and I quote, "Find General Hugh and tell him it's only necessary to push those people off those heights. Tell him to take that hill if practical." Now, General Hugh was new to command, and when he heard that if practical to take the heights, he thought it wouldn't be practical, and instead let his troops rest, giving the Union enough time to entrench themselves. Now, General Longstreet came to General Lee and said, if we threaten Washington, which they were only 85 miles from, then the Union would have to withdraw to defend their capital, leaving Gettysburg a victory for the CSA. But General Lee didn't take this. He saw that the enemy was at Gettysburg, the fight is at Gettysburg, so why should we change our plans? And that was the end of the first day. One mistake already done by General Lee, but many more were to follow. As the 2nd of July 1863 broke, the Union had finally entrenched themselves up on Colts Hill, Cemetery Hill and Cemetery Ridge, with only 95,000 troops against the Confederates' 75,000 troops. Now, the plan for today was to attack the Union's right and left flank, and General Longstreet took his 15,000 men and attacked the left flank. Now, normally, attacking a Union position isn't that hard, especially if you're General Lee. But a Union commander would make this a lot easier, as General Sickles disobeyed General Meade's orders and moved his divisions down to the Olive Gardens, causing a nice salient to form in the Union lines, meaning General Meade had to plug up the sides of the salient with more Union troops. Now, the Confederates had no real, the word I'm looking for is difficulty, getting through the Olive Gardens and the wheat fields, and were now attacking Cemetery Hill. And the fighting was most fierce at Little Round Top, where General Chamberlain was, with his 385 men. Now, his men were subdued to a CSA bayonet charge. Now, the CSA were met with volley fire from General Chamberlain, which caused them to retreat and regroup. So they charged again, and the same result happened. Now, for the third charge, Chamberlain ordered some of his reserve to go at an angle, as he believed the CSA would try and do a flanking manoeuvre, and he was absolutely right. Now, after 3 charges, General Chamberlain knew he couldn't survive a 4th, so he told his troops to fix bayonets. With their ammo nearly gone and with no reserves on the way, when the 4th Confederate charge began, Chamberlain countercharged with bayonets, causing the CSA to run back down the hill and forcibly surrender. And the left wing had been held. Now, as the 2nd turned to July the 3rd, 1863, both sides had suffered casualties up to 60,000. But Lee was now going for the centre, as the previous day's fighting were on the right and the left, causing the Union to take reserves from the centre. So he knew that the centre would be the weakest. But General Longstreet protested, and saying that their men would be exposed to 3/4 of a mile of open ground, exposed to Union cannon, and the Union was stuck behind a stone wall. But General Lee said, "We shall not retreat, and you shall attack the centre." This would be put down to General Pickett, and this would be famously known as Pickett's Charge. But when it came to it, Longstreet couldn't bring himself to give the order. And so Pickett and his 12,000 men went up and tried to assault Cemetery Ridge. Now, for the first 1/4 of a mile, they were all right, as there was no cannon firing on them and there was no musket balls being fired at them. But once they got near, cannons roared and obliterated the CSA. But they continued going, and they even managed to get to the Union defences, but it would not be. General Pickett had lost 2/3 of his division, and on July 5th, General Lee withdrew his troops from Gettysburg, and the march on Washington was lost. So that is the Battle of Gettysburg. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Let me know what you think about the film Gettysburg. It's America's answer to Waterloo, and I've already expressed how much I like that. So thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next time for another history video.